good crowd, good showing. Appreciate you all coming here. Safety folks, thank you so much for setting this up. This is a life-saving event. Someone from in this room will learn something that will save their life in the upcoming year. So thank you so much for the work that's gone into setting all this up. So it's important that you guys are here and do this course. You know that what we're going to talk about today is a dangerous business. About 1 in every 19 of U.S. Air Force personnel are motorcycle riders. So, of all of our fatalities in the Air Force, how many of them do you think are motorcycle PMSV related? What do you think? 1 in 7? 1 in 7 sound good? 1 in 6? Who thinks higher? Half? Spot on. Spot on. So 1 in 19 to half. So we're here for a reason, to put you guys in a good mindset. Along that lines, training isn't going to do everything. So statistics showing safety has all kinds of statistics. They've got statistics a mile long. But one of the most memorable ones to me is that lack of training is not good. You can get into an accident. But willful non-compliance, speeding, driving stupid, is 6 more times likely to get you into an accident than lack of training. So what you're getting today, the training, the refreshers, important, but get into the mindset of compliance, and compliance is what's going to keep you preventative and keep you to save your life. I remember driving home from San Antonio, from work one night in San Antonio, and I was on the loop. I was doing about 75 on the speed, passing another car on a two-lane highway, and I remember a motorcycle whipped between me and the other car I was passing, doing about $1.70, $1.80, just flew through. And I was mad at that guy because, like, dude, that's just stupid. First of all, for you, for yourself, for the people you might have hurt. And I got home, I kind of put it out of my mind. And the next morning, turned on the news, and I saw that there had been an accident in San Antonio with a goofy-ass motorcycle rider doing something stupid. And I don't know if it was him or not, but I certainly hope it wasn't. But that certainly could have been him if it was. And we don't want that to be anyone in this room. So, the last time that we had a fatality because of stupidness in the wing with the motorcycles was 2011. And we don't want that to happen again this year. So please pay attention to the course. Thank you for being here. That's the first step. Of course, you need to be here to ride, but take the mindset with you. Roads in England are horrible. They're already skinny. You take the outside 18 inches, those are crumbling. They're horrible. You get caught in those ruts. You're going off the road and into a ditch, and you may not be found for days. That's happened a lot. So be mindful on how you ride in here. Pay attention to the road rules. Be defensive. Very difficult to see. The lighting's terrible. You guys know all of this. So it's a whole mindset shift. So thank you for being here. Pay attention today, but most of all, be safe and don't be the next statistic. Don't be the guy that the person has to talk about next year who was our last fatality. So, safety, thanks again for putting this together. Have a great day. Enjoy yourself. Carry on, please.
Alright, hello everybody, Storm Lewis, I work at Wing Safety. As a reminder, I just want to let everybody know that we do have some sign-in clipboards in the back. After this, we sign in. We have your name to Lakenheath, and you sign in. If you're Middle Hall, we have one clipboard for you over there in the corner. So we have a really good briefing today. I'll get you guys set up. Alright, so everybody on Sergeant Lee's side taking over for Sergeant Price currently right now. We're going to actually have someone else taking over for me. Could you stand up, sir? Sergeant Bond, he's out of Middle Hall. Wendell Bond, Staff Sergeant. He's going to be doing what I'm doing right now, making sure you guys get to your training classes, making sure you guys have somewhere safe to do your training and all other things motorcycle related. So while you're here, obviously the AFI says you need to be here, but more importantly, you're here because, well, safety is personal, and that's what you're here for. You got to look after yourself, number one. I mean, I've been hurt before. I don't ride a bike. I'll be first one to say I don't ride a bike. But I've had family members who ride bikes, and every one of them's been in an accident. Every one, whether it was their fault or not. So I choose not to ride a bike. However, I've been hurt before. And what I mean by that is, I was doing my thing just like you probably would with a bike, and mishaps happen out of the blue. They really do. You could do everything right. You could be riding safely, and someone will run into you, right? A lot of people have that mentality. I'm not the danger on the road. It's the cars that are the danger, right? Well, safety is personal, because at the end of the day, when you get hurt, it's not going to be your supervisor that's there helping you out. It's not going to be anybody else. You got to live with your body. I have this bad hip now. It's hard for me to work out. And it all happened in a split second. My uncle, same way. He was fooling around. He was going about 140 near a residential area on a 600. Not that big of a deal for him because he had 1,000 and he used to go 40 over that. Well, he hit a station wagon at 140 and he'll never walk the same. You know, he's only 2 years older than me. So when I say uncle, it's not like someone who's 20 years older than me. He's like your age. And he's all jacked up. Every bone, every major bone has pins in it now. So I take it personally. Again, this is what we want to prevent, mishaps. That's the main idea of all this. Training, like Colonel Judas said, only goes so far. It really comes down to speeding. A lot of speeding, willingly speeding. If you're going 20 over, you're willingly neglecting the law. If it's within, under 20, could be a mistake, maybe a little bit too fast, but over 20, it's obvious, and you need to slow down. We got Kevin Stark back this year. He's going to give you guys some really good information. I need you guys to pay attention. He knows more about motorcycles than most of you will ever know and probably forgotten in this whole room combined. So, pay attention.
I'll try to live up to that introduction, but it's, I suppose I should give an apology first of all. I mean, here I am, sort of police motorcycle instructor, and yet dressed as, obviously came in the car today. But those of you who've been here a few years will probably start to sympathise that it's horrible up there this time of year. The weather's pants. And it's not even my bike that I would have ridden here today, but the silence around it still puts me off. I'm going to talk to you today, I mean, although having said that, the fact that I am here in my car kit also gives me a bit of an excuse to mention the fact that I've got, like many people in my job, we have sort of multi-role, and I have two hats to wear. I'm a police motorcycle instructor, but I'm also a collision investigator, which means for my sins I go to either myself or one of my colleagues, 5 of us in the force, will go to all the fatal or the serious injury collisions within the county of Suffolk. And what I really hate is when those two jobs combine, if you like, there's any overlapping. I hate turning up at an RTC, road traffic collision, which involves a motorcyclist because, believe it or not, I might sound a bit sick, but I have a passion for investigating collisions. I've been doing it for about 15 years. I find it fascinating, it interests me, and I love my motorcycling. Like a couple of the guys in here already I've discovered have the same bike as me. I ride an S1000 RR in my my own time, and there's my two passions, my two interests, but I do hate it when the two combine. Before I go on, just talk about a little bit about sort of what we're going to do. I mean, last year, one of the motorcycle fatalities I went to, sort of young lad, on a sort of an SRAD, sort of GSXR 750, and it links in a little bit with, what the first slide, so we can have that one. It's about the clothing aspect of it, simply because, you know what, the young lad, the two lads went out, one on R1, one on this sort of SRAD. The SRAD guy died, and I was introduced to a new word by the pathologist, the guy that did the post-mortem, because his post-mortem was full of the word disrupted. And they love their different words. We have different words. We investigate a fatal road traffic collision, and I see a similar report from yourselves to be generated with the word mishap. Now, personally, I find that quite amusing because mishap to me is stubbing my toe, but suddenly, a fatal report can be in a mishap report. But then there was this sort of pathologist using the word disrupted, and when I read more into the report, what it meant was the fact that the guy's head was no longer attached. His arm was no longer attached, his chest had opened up, and I know for a fact it was all over the road, his sort of intestines, his heart, his lung, it was all out. And they were using this word disrupted. And his body had literally disintegrated. And then when we spoke to the surviving motorcyclist, he turned around and he said to us, we weren't going for one of those rides, so that's why we weren't wearing our leathers. And I thought to myself, gosh, if they weren't going for one of those rides and they hit those sort of speeds that cause those sort of injuries, what is one of those sort of rides? That's the question that comes to me. But anyway, though, I thought we're just thinking about clothing, because in the UK, you guys may or may not be aware, but the only thing you have to wear by law is a type-approved helmet. That's a little bit contentious because some of you guys may have come here, you may have come from a state where you don't have to wear a helmet, you may have come with a sort of different rules and regulations. But the UK regulations are quite strict, and the biggest difference perhaps between some of your states and here is that the helmet has to drop down quite low at the back of the head. So if you've got one of these little skull caps, it would never pass the UK test. And the significance of never pass the UK test is, well, because in the law, it turns around and says it has to be type approved. With a quick introduction to UK law, one minute it says it has to, but then the next sentence it says, or, I'll give you another example. And the example here would be, or be of the type that were it submitted, it would pass the test. Okay, so there's a bit of a get out of jail free card there, but that really is to allow people who travel to this country to do a motorcycle holiday. And yeah, we do get them, not many, but we do. I mean, normally they're going over to the Isle of Man for the TT races, and they'll sort of they'll bring their bikes in, bring them, especially from Australia, believe it or not. They'll arrive at Felixstowe, get off, sort of get them out of crates, and then ride them across to the Isle of Man. But of course, I mean, these guys are coming with their Australian helmets, and as long as they're of a type that would pass, they're okay. But anything else, sadly not. Okay. I mean, there is nothing else that the law says you have to wear. Now, I'm going to introduce you to a little bit of, and bear with me here, guys, it's a bit of even my peculiar English humour. If you look at the ones here, the Sexual Offences Act, okay, talks about exposure. Well, you know, common law, outraging public decency, public nuisance, indecent exposure. Well, I think personally, in my sort of warped English humour, we start to have a bit of a crossover there between those type of offences and how I feel when I see somebody riding a motorcycle in inappropriate clothing. Because it does outrage my decency. I think that's outrageous to ride a bike in that sort of clothing. I think to expose yourself to the sort of risk, the abrasion injury that you can pick up from wearing inappropriate clothing. So whilst obviously you wouldn't get charged with the Sexual Offences Act if you wanted to ride along in your shorts and flip-flops, when you think about it, you are exposing yourself to an awful lot of risk that you don't have to. And that comes back to this willful exposure, if you wish. The other thing about clothing I will just touch on very quickly is the whole point of motorcycling really is to stay on it, not to fall off in the first place. Okay, and so people talk about, yeah, I'm going to wear all my leathers because if I fall off, I'm going to get protection. And they talk about the difference between leathers and textiles, and we have this great debate at the moment. Even at the moment at work, we're just combining the Norfolk Constabulary and the Suffolk Constabulary, the traffic unit are combining. And the Norfolk motorcyclists wear different kit to the Suffolk motorcyclists. And now we've got this great big debate of what we should wear. And Suffolk, we tend to favour a textile jacket into leather trousers, whereas the Norfolk guys like a full set of leathers. And we're having this big debate of what provides the best protection. But I think people very often, they forget that, to me, the first level of protection, if I can remain fully focused on what I'm doing, then I'm not going to fall off in the first place, in the ideal world. So do I really want to be crammed into my full race suit when it's 30 degrees outside and spending a whole day in this hot, sweaty old leathers, where I start thinking, crikey, you know what, I'm really uncomfortable, I'm hot, I'm losing a lot of fluids, I'm going to start to suffer fatigue, and then suddenly before I know it, that's what I'm thinking about while I'm riding along, and then suddenly I don't see that car pulling out, suddenly I've got a crash. Could it have been avoided? Well, maybe if I'd been able to sort of deal with the problems of inappropriate clothing. So it's not always sort of, in my opinion, it's not always straightforward to, you should just wear leathers, but that's something to think about. What I'm going to talk to you very quickly today is about the Roadcraft system. The Roadcraft is a system, it's a book essentially which you can pop down the shop and buy if you really felt desperate, but it's a good cure for insomnia. But it does contain the system which we will teach all police motorcyclists to ride to. Okay, it's a real simple system, it's got to be, because we're delivering it to police officers and we like simple things. Okay, we don't like things to get too complicated on us. But when you read it, it does tell you that a feature of nearly all road traffic collisions is human error. Now you might think that's obvious, but when I investigate a collision, we look for the environment. Has the environment contributed to it? These roads that you've already heard about, these horrible skinny little roads with lots of bends in them. Okay, is the environment a factor? Mechanical defect. You know, is it going to be something where genuinely, I've had this a long time ago now, but we had a ZZR 1100 sort of fatality, and during our examination we found out that the clip-on, the alloy the alloy bolts had been shredded, and the only thing that kept the clip-on on the yoke was a bit of corrosion. And as soon as he put a little bit of pressure down on that bar, the clip-on just came off in his hand. So that was a mechanical defect, not necessarily human error, although you could argue that the human error was sort of shooting it down in the first place. But I mean, whenever you, depending on what legislation or what research you want to read, normally they're saying about 95% of collisions are human error, and therefore, quite frankly, avoidable. Okay. Which one am I going to press now? Bottom arrow. Any good? Well, look. Okay, so when we look at Roadcraft, then the first chapter doesn't actually even start to talk about the how to ride a bike. It talks about the mental aspects, the right attitude. It talks about clothing and maintaining sort of riding and the right biorhythms, etc. Okay, so if you look at attitude, then it'll be dead easy, guys. We'll just sort of flick through these. I mean, green, hopefully you high regard the safety of you and your pillion and other road users. That's got to be paramount. That's got to be the first thing. Whenever you get on your bike, always try and maintain that. Okay? The red one then, enjoy the thrill of danger. That's obviously a negative one. I mean, if you start combining, I mean, those of you interested, there's a track day up at Sefton on Sunday. Okay? I might be up there myself. And it's very easy, isn't it? To get on the track, you suddenly got this, within reason, a safety bubble around you. You certainly haven't got oncoming traffic to deal with, or telegraph poles, or trees and things like that. And it's very easy. And even when we do our courses, I can go on a course, 3-week course for a police standard or a police advanced course. And I can ride my motorbike, my police motorbike, around the roads. And we are exempt the Road Traffic Act when we're doing training. And then I can put my police BMW away and I can take my BMW out of the garage to ride home on. And I've really got to make sure I flip that switch from sort of police rider on a course to civilian rider going home. And it's the same thing when you go on a track. There is a thrill of the danger. That's where you can have it. It doesn't have to be a negative. But what you must make sure is when you go home, that you switch back to the high regard to your safety, your pillion, you've got it, but certainly the other road users. The bottom there, I hope you can see the green, but the tolerance, consideration to other road users. You've all been there, especially on a bike, especially with the sort of acceleration you get with a bike, where on these sort of roads, you get the guy who wants to drive in front of you, they're lost, they don't really know where they're going. And they're doing their 30 miles an hour in this sort of national speed limit. You can be round them in the blink of an eye, but you've still got to be respectful, you've still got to be tolerant, and you mustn't sort of get yourself into any problems. Disregard for personal safety. Well, that's obviously the opposite of the high regard. But I mean, how many times have I heard, and honestly, guys, I hear it a lot, of the people who turn around and say, it's my life, do what I like. Really? Well, that's not the habit that sort of really sits with me. And why are we here? We're here because you have to be here, and that's a nightmare because whenever you're talking to a press gang audience, it's never easy. But certainly, you're here because the military tell you have to be here. Because if you don't come here, you can't ride your bikes in this country. So, the little bit of, if you don't start sort of doing as you're told, they will simply pull your license. Why is that? Because they invest a lot of money in you. And if you can't accept that, well, just get over it. Because they do. They being sort of, the United States Air Force, they've invested an awful lot of money in you. So they have an interest, a vested interest in you surviving to do your job as and when they need to. So if you don't have a high regard for your own personal safety, then they're going to have to make sure they instill it in you. Realistic appraisal of your own abilities. You've only got to go down to Allwell's motorbike shop in Ipswich. It's great on a Saturday morning. You turn up there, you can get your coffee, you can sit outside and you exchange anecdotes and you can all wear your full leathers and say how great you are, but the story is always better than the abilities. Motorcyclists are one of the worst offenders, in my opinion, for overrating their own abilities. Because we've all got some good stories, may not have actually quite lived up to it. Impressing others. How old are we? Come on, guys, let's grow up a little bit at times. We don't have to impress each other. We have to enjoy our motorcycling. I'm a self-confessed petrolhead. I love it. Absolutely love it. I've been riding bikes since I was 16. That's only a couple of years now then, but it's, I thoroughly enjoy it. I would encourage anybody to do it. I would never discourage anybody, and I can say that with a little bit of sincerity because my oldest daughter is 20. When she said she's got no interest in riding bikes, yes. But my 16-year-old, when she said she wanted to, I had to equally say, all right then, because it's a great sort of source of amusement. If I want to go and do the shopping, I'll take the car. Okay, if I want to go on holiday, I'll possibly take the car. If I want to go to work and just get to work, I'll take the car. If I want to get to work and have a smile on my face, I'll take the bike. Okay, because that I know will put me in a good mood for the rest of the day. Okay. Which one? Overestimating it. I mean, that again, that sort of all starts sort of tying other ones. Because we have to be honest, guys. We have to be truthful and understand that we're maybe not quite as good as we think we are. Okay. Awareness of your own vulnerability. Again, this all ties in with the. Very often we'll get that. Will be closely followed by the "but I don't care." Like I said, you guys, you have to appreciate that people do care. Whether it's your boss saying, "I've invested money in you," but it could also be your family. Say 15 years there or thereabouts, I've been investigating fatal accidents, and I've never once gone up to a mum, a dad, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a husband, or wife, and said, "Your relative's dead," and they've gone, "Yes." Okay, so people do care. Okay, not quite true actually. I think the mother of one, she turned around and maybe did explain to her that her son who just bought his house would probably have had some sort of mortgage cover, life insurance. Yeah. Really? Okay. You haven't forgotten your son's dead, have you? But it's okay. But be aware of that. Okay, and a noble cause. You know what? I'll leave this one. Hopefully it's the last, but I'll leave this one to last because this is one that, as police officers, we ram down their throats when we're instructing. Because this is the one the police officer really does suffer from. Because the 999 call comes in, help, help, I need the police officer, and the police officer then thinks, this is my noble cause, I have to get there quickly, and then they start perhaps overstretching their own ability, they start perhaps taking risks, they don't start considering other people, yada yada yada, and they have a crash. Okay, so in fact we've had one police motorcycle fatality in the last sort of 20 odd years, and sort of touch wood, may that stay that way, but that was most definitely a noble cause. Most definitely. Surveillance rider was asked to sort of had a loss on their target. He was asked to move up to go and find that target, and he lost his life as a result because he perhaps sort of started to take a little bit too much of a risk. Noble cause? I think so. Okay. He was after a villain, a wrong'un. And so he thought that the risk was worth it, but there are a lot of people that wouldn't agree with that to this day. Okay. Chapter 1, and bear in mind we're still only in Chapter 1 of Roadcraft, guys, and don't worry, I'm not going to go through all sort of 10, 12 chapters with you, but it's we then start talking about state of mind, and we can just sort of ping these up as we're talking through, don't sort of do them individually, but hopefully you will be able to relate to a lot of these and understand why it's important to maintain the positive state of mind. Because, one of the biggest features, the biggest safety features of a motorcycle, in my personal opinion, is the accelerator, is the throttle, if you wish. It's the ability to get yourself through and beyond, outside of that trouble. But if you don't have the correct sort of state of alertness, you won't actually be able to achieve that. If you're riding along, and forgive me, but as so many motorcyclists do, with your mind in neutral and your thumb up your bum, you are only going to end up getting yourself into a little bit of trouble. Okay? Roadcraft is about 100% attention constantly, which is why, let's go back to the clothing. It's why you've got to be comfortable. It's why you've got to be sort of the last thing you need to be doing is suffering from dehydration and letting your mind start to wander. Okay? It's why you can't afford to be in an emotional state. Don't have a bad day at work and a row with your partner, throw your leg over your motorbike and then sort of roar off into the distance, because you can't ride like that in a safe fashion. Okay, I have a phrase in life in general, but if you live by the sword, you die by the sword. If you take risk repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly, and you get away with it, well done you. You got away with it today. You might even get away with it for the next couple of weeks. but it will bite you in the arse. Okay, it will come back, and you will end up paying a huge price if you live in that fashion. Okay. So, having got through chapter 1, guys, and the reason I'm sort of bombarding with all of this stuff is because at the end of the day, within Suffolk Police, and here's a shameless bit of advertising, we do what we call safe rider courses. Okay, our own little workshops where we invite people, motorcyclists like yourself, to come up to police headquarters. We give you a theory session, which is, and this is perhaps I'm not going to sell it to you now, it's about 2.5 hours of listening to me. And then that's on the Friday night, and the Saturday morning we then take you out. We do about 90, 100 miles, sort of rotating a lead, and we sort of give you some assessment as to how we think your riding is, how it could be improved, again, and sort of encourage you to perhaps seek further training. But the how-to chapters are really what it's all about. And as you can see now, I've told you it's dead simple, that's it. Okay, that is it. As we've written there, that is our system. Information, position, speed, gear, acceleration. Many people often refer to it as IPSCA. Okay? It's simply, as you can see there, 5 phases. The first phase is the information phase, but it's constant, overlapping. You never switch off. It's that alertness, it's that state of mind, it's that presence of sort of, what am I doing? I'm riding a bike, I'm not thinking about the row, I'm not thinking about the bad day at work, I'm not thinking about what I want for me dinner, I'm not thinking about I need to go to the toilet. What I'm doing is I'm taking in the information constantly, never switching off. And I'm using that information then to adopt the correct position, to adopt the correct speed, to when I've got my speed correct, and this is an important one. When I've got the correct speed for what I've identified, I'm then going to get the correct gear. What we don't do is we don't brake on the gears. A lot of people will see a problem, identify the problem, they'll knock it down a cog in an attempt to sort of have a more appropriate gear, but if they've got that engine revs and road speed a little bit mismatched, there is a potential danger there. So we get the speed off, whether it be the throttle or whether it be the brakes, we get our speed off, we then get the gear for that engine and road speed, and then we'll use our acceleration appropriately. And it's a constant rolling program that we just apply to every single hazard that we see. Dead easy, dead straightforward once you can get to master it. Okay. Because what it will give you, as I said, a systematic approach to a hazard. It improves your observation, because one of the things that we have to do, because the information phase never stops, and you're constantly trying to identify things, and they'll come 2, 3, 4 at a time, but you're constantly trying to identify. What we do on our courses, and it's a bit more difficult on the bike courses, but in the car courses, we have to give commentaries. So as we're driving our cars along, we have to sort of say what we're looking at. And if you start trying to do that, guys, it will really lift your observation. One thing police driving taught me is I don't look down at the bonnet of my car anymore. I start looking up as far ahead as I can, because you need to be looking as far ahead. You need to be scanning your environment, planning, etc., etc. Because if you start trying to do a commentary, to talk about something before you've passed it is quite a skill. And that's even in the 30. If you start taking that to the 60s, it becomes obviously considerably harder, because 30 miles an hour. Does anyone know what, just in dealing meters, in a second, you know how many meters a second you're travelling at 30 miles an hour? Anybody want to hazard a guess? 15? We'll give 15, just over 13 and a half. And it makes you laugh, because here we all are. It might just be a little bit of sort of awkwardness, not wanting to shout out answers, I get that. But there's a lot of people in this room, and by the very fact you're in here because you have to, because you want to ride your bikes, we're all motorcyclists, we're all road users. We all, in this country, we're weaned on 30 mile an hour. You know 30 mile an hour from the very moment you get to sort of consider driving, because that's the speed limit, that's sort of the speed limit in any built-up area. And everyone talks about 30 mile an hour as if it's going out of fashion. And yet no one actually can really establish, or in their head they know, how far in 1 second they're travelling. Because if you then start factoring that into reaction times, etc., 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 you suddenly start realising why they say, look ahead, plan ahead, look as far ahead as you can, leave a reaction gap. Because if you're not going to react for about a second, you travel 13.5 metres before you even think about applying the brakes. And so all all this stuff starts to make a little bit of sense. So the system, it will give you that systematic approach to hazard, it will improve your observation, enhance anticipation, because I just said a 1 second reaction time. You go to the highway code, if you feel the need, and it will suggest a reaction time of what? Does anyone know? About half a second. Just over half a second is what the highway code will say you can react in. That's rubbish. I can think of a stronger word, but we'll just leave it as rubbish at the moment. Okay? Because when they did that, the way they established that time is because they already told people they were going to be reacting to something. So in the world of collision investigation, you would say they already had the perceived need to react. Further studies have been done where people aren't told what's going to happen, and then they get a true example, a true reflection on how they react, and that's going to be about 1.5 seconds, sometimes as big as 2. So go back to your 30 miles an hour. It's possible then that somebody, if you're not anticipating, if you're not already thinking I might need to react, you could do 27 metres before you even think about applying the brakes. Okay? This is where it starts to get significant about preserving your own safety. So the system will give you that enhanced need because you're always using the information, you're always looking ahead, you're always trying to identify the hazards because it gives you this increased perception of danger, etc., etc. And of course, the last one, smooth control of the bike by accurate handling skills. How important is that? Massively important. Those of you who like your racing, you look at the guys who are always sort of coming 7th and 8th in most races. Suddenly you get a wet race and they're the guys getting podiums because they're the smooth guys. Okay, they're the guys who don't take perhaps the whole risks. They're not the Marquezes of this world who are awesome riders, but they take risks. That's why people go, whoa, look at that, because they just take a risk all the time. As soon as the track gets a bit wet, that's when they start crashing. And that's when the steady, I call them steady, but let's be honest, they're still sort of the top 20 riders in the world. But that's when the steady, smoother riders start to show their skills. Because smooth bike handling, if you're going to ride in the UK, guys, if you're going to ride in our horrible, wet, damp conditions at times, you need to be a smooth rider. Okay, simple as. Okay. Because there you get sort of the basis of this system. Okay, the basis of IPSCA, the basis of information, position, speed, gear, acceleration, is that good concentration leads to accurate anticipation and observation, resulting in forward planning and proper riding decisions. Look at that. Okay, and the introduction to the police world is we do love our little 3-letter abbreviations, so we'll give you TUG. Okay, our little mnemonic there, we'll give you TUG to sort of help you remember what that system is all about. Because you take the information, you're taking it constantly. You're taking it through observation, through reading the road, from sort of prioritising hazards. I told you, we don't get one at a time. You tend to get 2, 3, 4, 5, and you've got to prioritise them. So you've got to understand them. You've got to understand the risk, the danger to you. How are you going to deal with it? And then you use that information. You use it to adopt the correct position on the road. Adopting the correct position to maximise certain advantages. And then, of course, we can give information. Now, that one's down to you. I tend to try and keep it polite, but other people tend to give information in a far sort of rude fashion at times. But let's keep it sort of nice and polite. Let's use indicators. Horn warning. You know, don't ever be afraid to use it. When I do the Safe Rider, I say to people, and I'll ask you the same question, a bit mean because we've just come through the winter. But on your motorcycles, who here has sounded the horn on their motorcycles within the last month? Okay, so we're looking at sort of maybe sort of half a dozen out of the whole room. And we could go back and we could go back and we could go back. But the point I'm going to make is, it's muscle memory. And for those of you that haven't used the horn, if you had to use it, I would put a penny to a pound that you would just cancel your indicators, which is no good at all. Because your muscle memory would go, oh gosh, that's the way we talk, isn't it? And you would suddenly press the button which your thumb is used to. And I'd put a penny to a pound, as I say, that button that you're used to is the indicators, and that ain't going to help you at all. So I certainly encourage people to use the horn a lot more. even to overtaking. I use it within the consideration of my overtaking. If I come up behind that 20, 30 mile an hour rider or driver who's lost and they're sort of looking, where am I going? Well, where they're going might be the right turn just ahead of them. And the last thing I want to do is commit to my overtake just when they see their turn and they dive in, because they're lost and they've got no awareness. So within my planning phase, I will certainly move my thumb over the horn. I will leave it there. I might even give them a little blast. And then I'll see them look down. I'll see them acknowledge my presence. Then I'll overtake them. And then I'll give a very important signal. I'll give a very important sort of signal, and that is an acknowledgement, a thank you. Okay, normally with 5 or 4 fingers and a thumb, or not 1 or 2. Okay, and normally with my hand up like that, and not sort of making any sort of little, unless it's an okay, but I think that could be misconstrued. So no, we'll go we'll do that. Because to diffuse that aggressive, because people do, they think in this country, I don't know why, but they think the horn is aggressive. It doesn't have to be. It's not what it's designed for. So if they're going to say it's aggressive, and they're going to say, oh, look at that motorcyclist, I bet they're horrible people, just give them a little blast on the horn, give them a thank you, and then sort of continue to enjoy your riding, and we're all going to stay safe. Okay. I keep talking about a hazard. Well, obviously, guys, a hazard could be anything. I don't want to start going into sort of specifics, but within the book, because it's a police manual, and the police is no different to the armed services, I guarantee you, everything is a definition. Okay, so they say a hazard, but before they allow you to use your imagination and say, well, what is a hazard, they start to tell you what a hazard is. And they give you the 3 categories. Okay, so we've got physical features. Physical features, well, the skinny roads that we're talking about, the bends in those skinny roads. We've got other road users. Okay, guys, do not be the cliche collision that we have in this country, in this county. We had one this, what are we now? Yeah, this month already. Motorcyclists coming up behind a slow-moving queue of traffic. Oh, let's overtake this slow-moving queue of traffic. But what's at the front of that slow-moving traffic? Tractor. What do tractors do? They turn into field entrances. And we have it time and time again of motorcyclists going down the outside, tractor turning in, bang. Like one of last year's fatals, like that. Like I say, this month, not a fatal, but the guy got a broken leg for his trouble. And the only reason it probably wasn't fatal, because he was on a 125 and there was very little speed involved. You can paint it like a Repsol, guys, but it's not a Repsol. And then, of course, we get that variation in road surface with weather conditions. This time of year, gosh, even the salt is beginning to sort of go a little bit, but it's still there, and it's drawn all that oil and grease and horrible muck to the surface. This is not a nice time to be riding. I'll ride all year. I do ride all year. But it isn't nice, and so you just have to be mindful that the road conditions are a hazard themselves. Even on what appears to be a bright sunny day, it's cold, you don't get the warmth, you don't get the grip, yada yada yada. Okay, so these are constant factors, constant hazards which you're trying to identify. And don't forget, this time of year we would chuck in a phrase called microclimates. Okay, so 1 minute it looks nice, then suddenly overhanging trees, that's different. It's constant information phase. Okay. Positioning. Okay, I talked about positioning, information, position. Well, just very quickly, there are 4 things that I'll be looking to achieve from my position on my bike. Can I maximise my view? Can I maximise control? Can I maximise visibility? And can I maximise safety? Okay, of all of those, clearly the one that we will always take sort of priority is always going to be safety. So even though I might be able to go over to that side of the road to improve my view, is it safe? No, it's not, then I don't go there. Although having said that, I mean, and those of you, are you familiar with the road from Icklington and go underneath the A11 now? That's a lovely little bit of road. And there are times when, even on these sort of sweeping sort of left-hand bends, on the approach to it, you can get over, you can improve your view, you're technically on the wrong side of the road, but it's a broken white line, so there's nothing legally stopping you. And if it is safe, I will go there because it will increase my view of the road ahead. It will increase my conspicuity, how people can see me. I've increased the radius of the bend, so there's a bit of a stability and control benefit there as well. So it's a win-win situation. But what I don't do is I don't go over there, and this is the important one, guys. I don't go over there if I haven't got the view in the first place. I go to extend the view, not to get the view. Okay? It's a bit of a subtle difference, but a bloody important one. Okay. Speed, well, better to be, as they say, better to be too slow and get it right than too fast and become a statistic. Your colonel talked about your love of statistics. Well, let me assure you the police is no different. We go to all sorts of lengths to get to our statistics, okay, including sort of our disrupted body. They'll still go into the bladder in order to get a bit of, in fact, it wasn't the bladder with him, they couldn't even get anything from that. They went into the back of the eye. And they can, from the aqueous and vitreous humour in the back of the eye, they can still get an alcohol sort of reading from that. Just because we want our statistics, you know, that's what it's all about, apparently. And speed decisions are based on what you know, no guesswork. Okay, should be no guesswork, and that's what the system is all about. Get it right. Okay. Gear, as I said, you know, my bike, it's got the slipper clutch, and it makes up sort of it can make a bad rider pretty good. But it's, you know, we don't look to be braking on the gears. We don't look to be slowing down on the gears. We have something on the bike which is a lot cheaper, designed to actually help you reduce speed, and that's called brakes. Okay, the last thing you want to do is start getting your engine and road speed wrong and shoving a piston up and doing some sort of serious damage. So use your brakes. That's what they're for. I mean, say prior to that, obviously you can roll the throttle off and use your existing gear and the braking efficiency from that. But if that isn't enough, you then start using front and rear brake in order to get it right, and then you select your gear. Okay, that's just the way we're taught. Acceleration, well, that's what it's all about, but it must be timed and deployed correctly. There you go, guys. I will just sort of just one thing I will just add very quickly, only because I heard the Colonel say about the what was his comment when he sort of sat in here, and he talked about the ditch, didn't he? Talked about being found and left in the ditch. When you leave here today, guys, I mean, please do this. I mean, you should be able to find it. John's story, okay, on YouTube. If you look at John's story, we've done 2 of these in Suffolk and Norfolk. I think David's story was our most recent one, and that was a guy who had left a motorcycle meet, rode off, and he ended up dying when a car turned right across him. He was doing about 100 miles an hour, and so the car turned across him, and that's had massive viewings. I think about 5 million views or something on YouTube, and if the comments are profound, because you've got the people who argue with the speed of the motorcyclist, and you've got the people who turn around and say the car driver should never have turned right across his path. But then the people will respond to that saying, well, does the car driver have to expect the motorcyclist to be doing 100 miles an hour? And you get back to the same arguments again. Okay, but that's a fairly sort of fait accompli, like the motorcyclist is dead. Okay, John's story, have a look at that one, because on John's story he doesn't die. He's out in his R6. Okay, I know John. I've had long chats with him, so that's a positive thing. It means he doesn't die. But he jolly well could have done when he loses control of his bike. And if I'm honest, yeah, okay, you'll make your own mind up if you look at it. But he's got an onboard camera, and he's filming himself not far away from here. And it was a road he was unfamiliar with, but it got advertised in one of the motorcycle press as a good ride, a good road to go and ride. So he thought, I'll go and do that. And he's riding, yeah, okay, he breaks the speed limit a little bit of time, and you shouldn't do that. That's what we're here for. But but he does. But his general riding wasn't that bad. I would have criticised his positioning to a degree at times, but it wasn't that bad. But then he does hit the big one. It gets it up to 114 miles an hour. And if you watch the video, it's quite interesting, because as he sort of accelerates, you see the picture of the bike just gets a little bit more sky. He's not pulling a wheelie, but it's just lifting a little bit on the front. And then, of course, the old adage we use in our driving school is at the end of every straight there is a bend. And on that bend there's a tree. So slow down, okay? Because you start looking at these trees on these bends and you'll see working scars, in as much as the bark will be stripped off, but the fact is the tree's still standing and the cars aren't. But John, as you see his sort of front lift a little bit, say up to about 114 mile an hour, then there's the bend approaching, then you see the front dropping, then you see it dropping a bit more as he's really loading up that front, then you see it scatting along the surface a little bit as he's in trouble now, and he just goes straight on. And he goes into that ditch. He does go into the ditch, and he's lying there, and although you won't see this in the video because we cut this out, as you see the camera, you just hear it going, ow, ow, and the video shows the water coming up, and he's wearing one of those little neoprene sort of mist sort of shields, if you like, and he described this horrible feeling as he's lying in this water-filled ditch, and he could feel that, or feel it, sort of getting wetter and wetter as the neoprene was just soaking up all the water. But because of all the broken bones in his body, he couldn't actually do anything about it. Now luckily for him, in the village, and you see it on the video, as he's going through this village, there's a car that comes in, a little smart car, little 4x4 smart, these four-wheel smart car. And the guy in the smart car was a paramedic off duty. And he hears the bike roaring away onto this straight, and then suddenly hears nothing. And as his view opens up, he just sees a bit of dust settling, but that's all. And the paramedic has the presence of mind to stop his car, get out, and he found John lying in the ditch. John would have died. Absolutely without question. He would have died that day, had that not happened. So don't think that the Colonel's sitting here trying to scare you, trying to tell you a story that wouldn't happen. That very nearly did, and if you want to see it, John's story on YouTube will show you that story. Okay? You could argue don't go out on your own, go out in groups, yada yada yada, but the fact is, it can, in fact, very nearly did die. Anyway guys, thank you for your patience. I do appreciate you here as a press gang audience, but I hope I've made it not too painful for you. And safe riding. If you want to come and see us on any of our safe riding workshops, there's the dates on there. If you can't see them or you want to speak to us afterwards, then please do so. I'll be here at the end. But thank you very much. Thank you.
Good morning, how you guys doing today? Alright, so first thing we're going to talk about is going to be pre-ride inspections. What's the acronym you guys want to follow? What you guys do? T-clocks. Alright, so here you go. Tires, conditions, air pressures, spokes and rims. C, controls, levers, pedals, cables, hoses, and throttle. L for lights, battery, headlights, turn signals, mirrors, reflectors. And you got your O for oil, all your fluids, chassis, frame, suspension, and stands for side stands, should be standing, etc. So I want two volunteers. I need the most experienced rider, and I need the least experienced rider. Come on up, please. So who's been riding 10 years or more? So you want to come on up? And then who's been riding less than a year? Probably about 6 month time frame. A year time frame? Year and a half?
Somebody come up, I'll point you guys out. I know who's been riding 6 months.
Alright, so what I have here, I want you guys to go through a T-clock inspection on this motorcycle. So you guys go through this range card here. You guys got all your acronyms. You guys want you to go through and actually demonstrate how to do a T-clock. Alright, so first thing, what are you looking for? Tires, right? What are you looking for the tires?
Cuts, anything stuck in. Further, you want them up on the stand, stand.
Right. Yep.
Front end, rear.
You're going to check for dry rot, right?
Dry rot.
You're going to check for wear and tear.
Anything like that squared off. Next thing, check your air pressure. Check it when you're cold.
Right. So, how do you know what type of air pressure you need on your motorcycle?
It all depends on what you're doing.
Okay.
Road ride, usually it's cranked on the side, but that's max load.
Yep.
If you're carrying load. If you're doing a track day, you want to drop your pressure.
It's true. But
Because
where can you find this information as far as what your tire pressure needs to be? Mom, right? Motorcycle owner's manual. That's what you can look for. Okay? And then also when you look at your tires, you look for tread depth. This is the wife's bike. She's got a little flat spot in the middle because she doesn't take corners too often. So she needs new tires. So that's one thing I want to point out to you guys as well. You guys ride the motorcycle, you guys want to check your tread. Okay? You don't want to have slicks on the open road. Okay? Things to keep in mind as you go through. Also, if you start seeing strands on your tires as well, white strands, yellow strands, red strands, what's that? You need to stay off of them, and then you get trailered and get the tires put on as soon as possible. That way you avoid blowouts, you avoid anything to that nature. Okay? All right, so we talked about tires, talked about those type of things. What about controls? Okay, what do you look on controls?
Check your levers.
Okay.
Make sure everything's tight, make sure it's working.
Yep. Good. Good. So yeah, that's your woman yell at you. She's not here.
Make sure the levers, you turn the motorcycle on. At the same time, check your brakes, make sure the brake light's working.
That's good.
Turn it on.
Get in here. So brakes for resistance. You don't want your brake lever to come all the way down your handlebars, because then you're not going to have your full maximum effective brake. Okay? So therefore, your hydraulic lines probably need to get bled. You probably need to check your level of your hydraulic fluid. So make sure it's not going all the way down. You do have that resistance. And then obviously, when it springs back up, it goes back to the normal position. Okay? And then checking your your clutch lever over here. You're going to make sure you have resistance as well. The cable, and that way you're able to shift the gears properly. Okay? All right. So, let's see. Also controls. If you look on this right side of the bike, over here by your brake, you have your couple cords coming out, couple wires. So you have your throttle, and you also have your brake. There was a bike that I saw the other day. He could turn his handlebars all the way to the left, but he rerouted his levers, or he routed his cables over here, so that way he doesn't have full lock position to the right side anymore. And the reason being is we had fairings, custom-made fairings, and he put speakers inside his fairings, so you can hook up an iPod, etc. But he routed the cables, which means you can't do a full lock to the right. So as you guys do modifications to your bike, make sure they pass MOT, make sure they are legal, and you can still do complete function of it. Okay? All right. So lights. What are you checking for on the lights? How do you check it?
Right, so you check, turn them on.
Okay.
You got brakes.
Yep.
Turn signal.
They're HID, so it takes a minute for it to warm up.
Oh, okay. High beam.
Yep.
Okay. Make sure you cancel.
Yep. So you got your lights. Make sure that everything works. And then you check the other side as well. Brakes work. Very good. Yep. Brake. There you go. All right. So oil for O, right? All fluids, brakes, hydraulic, engine, gears, coolant, fuel. So some of the stuff you guys have to pull some bearings out. So if you have any questions, get your bike serviced. Take it to a shop on base. Take it off base. Go ahead and have them check your fluids. Check your oil. Check all those components that you need. Okay. Yep. The bike needs to be level. You won't be able to see much in the sight flash down here at the bottom. But that's why you take it to a shop. If you're unsure, you don't want to do it yourself, take it to somebody that knows how to do it. Okay? All right, C for chassis. You're checking your frame, suspension, chain, belt, shafts. Okay?
Chain fluid.
Yep, make sure your chain is lubed. What about loose? No.
Check your owner's manual on that.
Check your mom, alright? So when you guys are riding down the road, you guys hear a clacking noise, and it's coming from your back tire. That's going to be your chain. Your chain needs to get tightened. Why is having a tight chain important?
Inspection the suspension track.
What's that?
Inspection, the way your suspension works. Same thing with the pressure in your tires. That's your suspension too. That's helping your suspension. But you
Absolutely.
And if you can, most new bikes, the shock, rear shocks, real hard to get to.
Yep.
But you want to adjust the shock if you're carrying a load, or if you got hopefully big wheels.
Absolutely. That's why you could also adjust your air pressure if you are carrying a load. Also over here was talking about air pressure, you're talking about carrying loads. You're going to have to change your suspension. You're going to have to change your ride height possibly. You're going to have to change your air pressure. All depending on what you're doing. If you guys are doing track days, if you guys are doing long hauls, going on long trips with passenger on the back. You may have to look at all those factors. Refer to your mom if you have anything to do. If not, take to the neighbor shop. Be like, hey, can you adjust my air pressure? Hey, can you adjust my suspension for me, please? I'm going, this is what I'm doing, and they'll be able to help you guys out. Okay? Let's see. And then your side stands. What about your side stands you got to look for?
Make sure the turns works.
Okay? Just make sure it goes all the way up. Why is that important? Left-hand turns. Most new bikes these days as well, you can't start the bike with the stand down, and there's a sensor on it. So if that spring is old, and you didn't do anything, any modifications, so that way it can start while the stand is down, you have to bring it all the way up so that way the sensor reads it. If not, the bike won't start. Also, keep in mind, if you're taking corners and it's loose, if you don't have that sensor on it, now you're going to start dragging it. Now you're going to cause more of a debris hazard. Now you're going to get it caught on a rock. You're going to start kicking rocks up. You're going to get it caught in a ditch somewhere, and you're just going to rip it off, and then the bike's going to go down with you. Okay? All right. Thank you, guys. You guys have any questions? Thank you so much for coming up. All right. Any questions on T-clocks? All right, so remember, pre-ride check before every ride, no matter how short or long the journey. I know most of the bikes probably been in storage. I haven't seen many out on the roads. And I saw probably about 10, 15 bikes yesterday. So hopefully you guys did some pre-clocks or T-clocks, pre-ride inspection. And if you guys haven't done so, I'd highly recommend you guys get it done as soon as you can. Okay? All right, no questions? Perfect. So PPE. What do you got wearing for PPE? Read it out. What do you got? How do you know if the helmet's ECE?
Cut on the back of it, or you can pull it up on the website if it doesn't have it stated. There's also a small thing that's usually sewn into the tag.
Absolutely right.
So you
These
can
are all.
inside.
Yep, very good. You're going to have a tag on the back that's going to say ECE or ANSI standard, British standard. Excuse me. Okay. So make sure your helmet. Sir.
So in addition to that, they're not necessarily doing the stickers anymore. On the inside of the helmet, there's a white tag that's stitched in.
Mm-hmm.
It's got an E with a circle in it, and the country code that approved it. So, yeah.
Yep,
I got told that my helmet wasn't ECE approved. So
There you go. I know the shop on base has a sale going on right now, and there's a bunch of helmets with the tags in it. Instead of saying EC on the back, it's actually on the chin strap itself. So if you guys look for helmets that are certified, always check online to see if it is certified, and then check the helmet itself. And if you don't find it on the back side of it, check the strap as well. Those are all places you can find it. All right. So goggles, face shield. Obviously, a full face helmet would meet that standard. Brightly colored upper garment, reflective at night. So you get one of these vests. Can I wear a normal reflective belt at night? At night, yes you can. Can I wear a reflective belt during the day? No, not right now. We'll cover that here in a second. All right, so long sleeves. Make sure you wear long sleeves. Full finger gloves. What about these security forces gloves? They like to cut fingers out. Can we wear those? Weightlifting gloves? Can we wear those? No? Okay. What about mechanics gloves? Gloves that you normally take on flight mode. Correct. You need some type of embrace material, so a leather type of glove. Okay, those mechanic gloves that you wear on the flight line, work gloves, they're just cloth. Okay, they're only help your hands from not getting dirty and from minor leaks. Okay. Long pants as well, and sturdy footwear. Footwear needs to be, sir.
Got a question about long pants.
Okay.
Because I saw a gentleman riding with PT style pants on when I seen him. I mean, is it those be pants you recommend?
What? No, I wouldn't recommend it because it's not gonna abrasion resistant. No, I definitely would not recommend wearing PT pants. Okay. So some type of jeans, some type of actual riding pants, leathers, something to that nature. Okay. And then footwear, make sure you're not wearing any tennis shoes, make sure you're not wearing flip-flops, make sure you're wearing boots or something that covers top of the ankle. Okay. All right, so PPE questions. Who is applied to? All military and Air Force duty civilians. They will wear PPE that meets the requirements of the installation. MAGCOM, MAFI, 91207, and DODI. Okay. Contractors, dependents, sister services, and visitors must meet the minimum requirements for motorcycle PPE as outlined in the standards to enter an Air Force installation. Alright, so we talked about brightly colored upper garments. The Air Force states riders should select PPE that incorporates fluorescent colors and retro reflective material. So does a rider have to wear PPE with fluorescent colors during the day and retro reflective colors at night? We talked about reflective belts. So yes, the Lakenheath supplement still requires brightly colored upper outer garments. Okay, so if I were to ride just with I have a long sleeve shirt on and I have a t-shirt on top, can I get on base wearing this color? No. So what colors are you looking at? Fluorescent. So fluorescent green. I think we got fluorescent orange in here. We got CD shirts that are bright orange as well. Okay. High visibility colors. It says motorcycle riders will choose riding apparel as upper garments and incorporate high visibility colors. We just talked about fluorescence. It says wearing of a brightly colored retro reflective flight line belt or disco belt fulfill this requirements of this mandate.
At night.
So reflective belt is yes for night use, but I would recommend getting a vest, something that has a lot more reflective properties on it. But no, not for day use. Okay, because that is not enough to be fluorescent colored on a bike. Okay, you need those fluorescent shirts, fluorescent vests, something that's going to stand out during the daytime. Okay. All right. Everybody knows the wing commander has an off installation uniform wear. I just want to pull out a couple things from that document. So any uniform accessories and backpacks that readily convey military affiliation should not be carried. So if you have a ABU book bag, if you have a military style book bag, and you ride a motorcycle, pretty much it's a no-go, right? So going to the next one. Let's see. No, go back. All right. So the travel between military installations and military uniform is authorized, but during transit, you shall make every effort to conceal uniform elements from outside observation. But now here's a stipulation. While commuting via motorcycles, scooters, bikes, pedestrians, or utilizing host nation public transport, uniform is prohibited. Okay, so if you're riding a motorcycle, you're going home, and you wear a uniform home, you have to do what? Pack it up, throw it in your bag, keep it at your shop, right? Wear civilian clothes. This order supersedes prior direction on this topic. It shall remain in effect until 1 June 2015. But everybody's been seeing it came out for a month, and then came out for another extra month. Now, new supplement came out until 1 June. So, I just recommend personally, don't wear a uniform off base. Don't wear your ABUs on a motorcycle off installation. Okay? Just keep it easy, keep it simple. Just don't do it. PPE. As you can tell, he's riding with sneakers, shorts, and a workout shirt. Alright? Get him a wreck, guess what happens? You're going to be hurt for a while.
He's got pants on.
He's got pants on. That lady gets rolled up.
Ah, my apologies. Thank you. Okay? Looks like PT pants. Alright, so guys, be safe. It's your body, it's your life, and if you don't wear your PPE, you could always go out. Extreme worst case scenario is death. Just keep in mind, when you die, it doesn't affect only you. It affects your family. It affects your loved ones. It affects everybody around you. Okay? So keep that in mind. Be safe. Always wear your PPE, no matter how far or how short you drive. Okay? What's that? Yep. Alright, filtering, lane splitting. Filtering. What's filtering?
Putting it under 30.
30 numbers. 30 numbers. Okay? So filtering is passing between lanes of stopped or slow-moving vehicles while operating a motorcycle. Lane splitting. Passing between lanes of free-flowing traffic traveling at normal speeds while operating a motorcycle. Okay? Is that clear as mud? Mm-hmm. You guys understand that? All right, so policy. Military all the time and civilian in duty status must abide by this. Filtering is permitted when traffic is stopped, moving at slow speeds defined as 20 miles an hour or less. Riders will filter at speeds no more than 10 miles faster than the surrounding traffic. So what's a prime example? Going through Brandon. At rush hour going through there. Friday afternoon. Yep. Traffic is horrible going through. So filtering. Are you allowed to filter when traffic is stopped? What about when you come up to that crosswalk where it's got the zigzags? Can you filter through there? Yeah. So let's read the next slide. Lane splitting when traffic is moving faster than 20 miles an hour is prohibited. No overtaking methods should be used. So over 20 you can't. All overtaking, including filtering, must follow UK Highway Code rules. Overtaking is not permitted where there is no overtaking sign. If you have to cross over a solid white line to do so, on the hard shoulders of motorways, or pass a vehicle on the approach to a crossing with zigzag white lines. So you guys come up to your railroad crossings, you guys see the white zigzag lines, right? That means no passing. So you can't filter, you can't pass. You guys see the solid white lines. This also means you can't do anything. Only the dashed lines is when you can filter or lane pass. Okay? Any questions?
So as far as the filtering, the speed's really all that matters. It doesn't matter if there's traffic coming towards you.
Well, what do you say about speeds? 20 miles or less, and how fast can you go? Or filtering? 10 miles over. Okay.
So the traffic coming towards you doesn't matter.
If you have traffic coming towards you, use your best judgment. Do you want to cut in front of cars that are coming towards you? When you guys filter, you're supposed to be on your side of the road. You're supposed to be within your lane is when you filter. So cars will move over, you filter through. It's not overtaking. When you overtake, you go outside your lane into the oncoming lane. So when you filter, keep that in mind. When you're going through Brandon, you're going through some of those places, you're going to try and stay in your lane as best as possible. Okay? Correct me if I'm wrong. That's the difference between filtering and overtaking.
Once you reach the white line and go to the other side of the road, you then form an overtaking manoeuvre.
Correct.
Filtering is in your lane.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're dependent on there is that the other driver's giving you room to manoeuvre. If you're then having to force the issue with oncoming traffic, you're then putting your life at risk and you're also potentially breaking the law.
There you go. And Lakenheath has a no pass policy within how many miles of base?
10 miles.
10 mile radius.
Wrong. That's mapped out on a map and it has highlighted roads.
Okay.
There are plenty of roads within 10 miles.
Of which the A1065 is one of them.
Alright guys, stop. You guys have further questions, we'll bring it up towards the end. You guys are confused or need more clarification. Alright, we're going to talk about motorcycle safety foundation courses, MSF courses. You have your BRC. It's a 2-day course suitable for beginners with no experience. Provides foundation for continued learning. MSF card accepted by most states for license purposes. Students comply with all PPE requirements, and students must have an appropriate bike, owned, borrowed, or rent. And then, as you guys also note, you cannot ride your own bike to the BRC without a 3rd Air Force endorsement license. Okay? So a certified motorcycle rider is going to have to ride it up for you, put it on a trailer, put it on a truck, but you cannot, if you're not certified, you do not have it on your 3rd Air Force license, you cannot ride it to the range for that class. Okay? Alright, you have your BRC 2. This is a 1-day course suitable for riders with moderate experience, builds on BRC and personal experience, reinforces good riding practices. Faster, more technical than the BRC, and students comply with all PPE requirements as well. And it was formerly called the ERC. Okay. MSRC, Sport Bike Rider Course. It's a one-day course suitable for experienced sport bike riders, builds on BRC2 and personal experiences, reinforces good riding practices. Faster, more technical than the BRC2, and students comply with all PB requirements as well. Okay? And you also have your ARC. It's a one-day suitable course for experienced cruisers, builds on BRC2 and personal experiences, reinforces good riding practices, faster, more technical than the BRC2, and students also always comply with PB requirements as well. Okay? All right. So you have your initial training prior to operation of a motorcycle. You're going to do your BRC, and then intermediate training, 60 to 365 days after completing initial training. An immediate sport bike rider shall attend the MSRC or ARC, and then refresher trainings every 5 years. Sir.
There's a lot of people that are overdue. I look at Must. I have quite a bit of people. There's 260 so riders, and 100 of them are overdue training. Probably not all of those really need training. It's the fact that they haven't updated their records in Must. So please go on Must if you know you're taking your second class. This is a change. So you're due pretty much the minute you complete BRC. It puts you into a due status for the next course because it says within 60 days, but not to exceed 1 year. So there's a lot of classes available. We had this come down almost 2 years ago, so there really shouldn't be any excuses after this summer. And we're going to start trying to enforce this AFI. So take the time, get into your class, and you'll be able to enjoy your bike all season long.
These slides contradict itself.
Oh yeah, I apologize. That was an old AFI. It's now 5 years. So if you've taken it, you're good for 5 more years. Okay.
Okay. All right. Talking about C. Who remembers what C is? Anyone? Yeah. So what are you looking for when you guys do a C going down the road? Research, evaluate, executing, right? What are some of the things you're going to look for? Hazards. So what are some of the hazards on the roads? Cars, people, animals, oil, debris in the road, lanes merging, right? All sorts of driving conditions, right? So first S, search for factors that might lead to risky situations. Car approaching the intersection. Evaluate how the factors might interact to create risk. Car entering your right of way. Look for an escape route. What's behind you? What's beside you? Don't lose focus of what's in front of you as well. Okay? If you're going to hit the brakes, make sure the car's not going to hit you behind. If you're going to try and swerve, make sure there's nothing off to the side of you that you're going to run into. All right? Anticipate the worst. And execute possible actions to maintain your margin of safety. Slow down. There's no hurry, there's no rush. Slow is fast, right? You need to get you there safe. Change lanes, check your six before you do. There could be a car trying to overtake you as well. So always look behind you before you take lanes. Okay? Alright. MSF offers other courses and training opportunities as part of its complete rider education and training system. Once you've successfully completed the BRC, enroll in more advanced courses to keep your skills and strategies fresh. All right. Any questions? What you got?
All right, so with the BRC stuff, you take your BRC 1, then you have BRC 2. When do you have to take the experience course or anything else? Because there was some confusion on the car riders who have to take the BRC.
All right, so here it is. You got a sports bike, right? We'll go with that because a lot of sports bike riders do. You take your BRC. You're supposed to take either MSRC or ARC next. You can't take BRC 2. And then after that, you would take the same course again 5 years. Now going to the street bike riders or cruisers, as you know, they can take BRC 2, they can do MSRC, they can do ARC technically, they can do all 3 of them. But really, you don't see a lot of cruisers at the military sports bike as a term, but talking to the MATCOM and beyond, they say there's really no difference in the course. So, get into one of these more advanced classes after your BRC. Now, do I recommend you going straight from BRC and a week later taking one of these classes? No, probably need to get some time. So that's why they have up to a year to take the class, obviously. So we don't want anybody to get hurt in the range. I watched them doing their bike maneuvers yesterday, and it does seem a little more aggressive than BRC. So you want to be comfortable with your bike, but don't exceed that 1 year. That's very important. Okay? Did I answer your question?
Well, it's just like, so if you're on a sport bike, you take the BRC 1, you don't take 2, you take the advanced one.
Yeah, you cannot take BRC 2 as your intermediate training.
You can take it though.
You can take it, but it won't count. Musk, the thing with Musk is when you put your information in there, it will tell you what you need to do or if you're wrong. So don't waste your time unless you really want to. If you have a sports bike, go to ARC or MSRC. How can I help you?
Just to verify, if you've been to BRC2, you still have to take the sports bike, or
if you have a sports bike, yes,
right.
That is correct. And there's a lot of controversy what's considered a sports bike. One of them is the naked bikes, as they're called. Yes, they come up as a sports bike. There's not a definite list of this model, this make is sports. This is, you go in there, you look at the different categories for what your bike is, and you select it. Obviously, it gets QA, QC through your MSR. Make sure you select the right thing so you don't bypass the system because it's user-entered, but verified by higher up. Any other questions? How can I?
Like it's preferred that you're on your bike if you're brand new, like at least 6 months before you take the MSRC. So if you're brand new on a sports bike, take the BRC. A few months later, take the BRC2, and within a year, take the MSRC. That's kind of like the preferred range. So that way, you get the training, you get comfortable on your bike, and you're not going to drop it on the pad.
I will remind you, these classes are free, so and a lot of them are during duty hours. If I could ride during duty hours, I would, personally. It sounds like a good day at work. That's how I feel about it. Yeah. So, any other questions? No? Okay. Mr. Barry Wall is up next. Oh, I'm sorry. Is there another question?
I had one. When did it change from every 3 to every 5 years? For
That was, the 3 years was the USAP stuff. That was, what was that? April last year.
Okay. So if I was coming, my 3 years is effectively up this year, I'm good for 2 more?
That 3-year rule no longer applies. If you look at the 91207 and the subs, it reads 5 years. So, after 5 years after you get your ARC, you'll have to take another class. Okay? Any other questions about requirements for training? If you need any more further help, you can always email me. Remember, last name's Lisa. Hit me up. Mr. Wall.
Good morning. Everybody nearly there, right? What am I going to talk to you about? Well, everything you already know. Okay, it's just to remind you that all this good stuff, all this good information you've been told about riding smart, you've already prepared for that, but don't underestimate the roads. Okay? You all know how bad the roads are in this location. You know there's no curb, there's nothing to stop you from going off or things coming on to greet you. As in, I'm 41 and I've never seen a live badger. So let's look at this particular stretch of road there. As you heard PC Stark use that wonderful phrase, microclimate. This piece of road during the summer is a wonderful postcard, isn't it? To send home, look how great England is. But when we're driving along, the road could still be slippery because the sun can't penetrate, it can't dry the road out. Slippery road could mean frost at this time of year, which could catch you out, okay? The sun's out, like I said, it keeps it only a little bit sunny, keeps the moisture in, no lines on the road, okay? PC Stark talks about positioning, being able to see where you're going, but also you need to make yourself aware that that is a two-way road and there could be traffic coming the other way, okay? Bambi. Never underestimate Bambi, okay? She likes to see what you're riding, she will not look from the tree line. She will come out and see what you're riding, okay? And look out for the bits of debris, everything that's left behind to catch you out. You can try and come in and take that corner nicely, okay? And like I said, that road could be lethal at this time of year. The weather changes constantly, doesn't it? Okay, look at the amount of weather change we've had over the past couple of days. Nice warm, mild mornings, raining, came out yesterday, my car was frozen. That's 3 days. That's how unpredictable this country is, and that's why we love it. So what are the problems you got? Well, there's nowhere to go if you get it wrong. There's no breakdown lanes. We don't have that lovely median like you have in the States where all the police cars are smoking the bandit end up, okay? It's nothing like that. The road markings. My only consideration for the road lines and the comparison I can use is double yellow line. In the States, it means no passing. In the UK, it's in the left-hand side of the road means no waiting, okay? When I'm driving through Texas, I see a double yellow line in the middle of the road and think, who the hell's going to park there? Make sure that you understand those lines and you adhere to them. The broken white line on your side, yes, you may pass, but when may you pass? When it's safe to do so. Double white line, can I pass? Ever? There's got to be an exception, surely, hasn't there? If I'm stuck behind a cyclist, or a person on a horse, or someone in one of those Walmart scooters, I have got to be able to pass them, haven't I? Understand, it's less than 10 miles an hour of stationary vehicles. Winding roads, I'm not going to tell you about the hazards of winding roads because you all love them. You love winding roads to get the knee down, going round them and stuff like that, I get it, okay? But the winding roads in their nature, you have to be aware of those car drivers. Why? Because you may come against that car driver who isn't driving to the conditions, who hasn't put themselves in the right position to take that bend, has carried too much speed into the bend, has drifted out into your side of the road. Okay? It's a common occurrence on these roads. Eriswell Road. Need I say any more? Okay? Blind curves and corners, again. Think about your positioning, think about how you're going to approach it, and think about what's coming the other way. Higher speed limits. Yeah, okay, I get it. Lack of road signs. You need that information given to you so you can process it and anticipate what's coming up in front of you, okay? And based on the type of the road. The speed limits aren't based on the hazards, they're based on the type of road. If you picture Mr. Bean in a planning office, that's how they get their speed limits, okay? He's got a set of stamps and he just hits one. Yeah, boom. That's done, okay? Watch out for these guys. Why? Because not only does the load shift, not only are the roads bad enough anyway that they start bouncing about and the load starts shifting, but you've got the other problem as well, impatient drivers. Okay? I try and tell all of our members during local conditions to be more bike aware. I wish I could do it out on the roads. Okay? Because a lot of the car drivers in this locality, they're not motorbike aware. You have to think for them. So when you're confronted with something like this, a slow-moving vehicle, not only have you got to think about your own manoeuvre and your own safety, but is the car driver aware of what you're doing? And that's where PC Start says the old horn comes in handy, giving them a little reminder that you're there. My mother-in-law. Look out for my mother-in-law. Okay? She's on the left-hand side of the road. She can't ride in a straight line. Why? Because all the dead stuff's there. The badgers, the deer, the foxes, all that roadkill is at the left-hand side of the road. All the garbage that people throw out of their cars. Excuse me, I've got someone else's teeth in this morning. The detritus that's coming back out in the road from the weather that's getting washed back into the road is there. So my mother-in-law can't ride in a straight line. Okay? She may need to swerve, so you need to be aware of her. People on horses, okay? How experienced is the rider? How often has the rider been on the road? With an exhaust pipe like that might freak the horse out. Certainly freaking me out looking down at the moment. So make sure that you're courteous to that horse rider. Okay? Please don't startle them and pass them safely. Imagine it's you on that bicycle or in that saddle on the horse, and how would you want to be passed? Please be courteous. Impatience. Don't be an impatient guy, because what manoeuvre would we be taking? Would I be filtering if I started following along there and coming breaching the line and going the other side of the road? No. So if I'm on an A1065, have I just breached the no passing policy? Think about it, okay? There's a lot of thinking you need to do before you get out there and get going. The roads themselves, embanked, and as you heard PC Stark say, if you look at this one, there's no guardrail. In fact, there's a nice little ramp should you decide to go off to the left. Okay? So it could help you on your way. Yeah, you would be. But, the trouble is as well, desolate road, if you were to be unfortunate enough to go off to the left and take that ramp and end up in the water, you're reliant on other road users, aren't you? Please make sure you understand the roads. The other thing to think about the roads as well, if you're going to be riding them daily, think about how the weather is going to affect them on literally a daily or hourly basis. This is an agricultural vehicle, an agricultural road, where a tractor's come out onto the road on a damp day and brought a lot of mud onto the road with it. That's going to change your driving conditions drastically, isn't it? That tread on that tyre suddenly filled with mud or a slurry-like substance has just become a slick on a wet road. And you've got a whole world of problems, okay? So please, guys, take heed of the weather and how it affects those road conditions. Just to show you again how the farm equipment can affect the road. Even me as a car driver, I'm not a biker, guys. I'm not going to try and teach you how to ride. I haven't got a clue. But in my car, I know that sometimes I've been driving around locally and I've had agricultural vehicles come towards me that are in my lane. axles hanging off of things that are coming towards me. It scares the living daylights out of me. Okay, I can't imagine what it's like on a bike where you're more vulnerable. Please make sure you understand what other things share the road with you. When you see them, start to adjust your speed, start to process that information and work out the safest way through it. The good old road surface, there we go, Eriswell Road. The road surface is against you already, isn't it? Okay, some of these roads are as bumpy as hell in a car. I can't imagine what it's like getting that feedback straight up the spine on a bike. Okay, probably not nice, alright? So take care. Understand how bad the local roads are. Wangford Road is going to be closed soon for resurfacing. Someone's actually found some pocket money to go and spend on it. Okay, so that's one problem. But the other thing, talk about spalling concrete and how that can affect your ride. How that can affect the surface, how it can affect your traction and everything while you're going out and about. The guardrail that we hope is going to save us, well, sometimes, maybe not. We may just go under it, okay, if you're ahead of the bike. So just be aware of that if we're sliding, if we come off and we start to slide. Or you could end up going straight over it. Okay? Yeah, I didn't put that one up there. Very nice, like the jacket. It meets the AFI requirement. Anyway. Guys, any questions for me? Please have a safe season, okay? Ride according to the conditions and let them, ride to the posted speed limit, but adjust it to the road and weather conditions. All right, and make sure that you stay safe out there. Thanks for your time. Have a good day.
All right, I'm the last one up. So again, this is mandatory. A lot of this is really, this is refresher to a lot of people. Is there anything you really received from this that's new? Probably a few things. The challenge is really here is that I need you guys to not let it go in one ear, not the other. I don't want you wasting your hour and a half, 2 hours that you spent here and end up in an accident down the road. So we like to talk about statistics. Here's your last year's, but this is actually up from the year prior. So let's change that trend. Let's not have another major accident. Personal statistics for me is actually my family. Three relatives, all three were in accidents. One of them actually died. My granddad didn't die, but he should have. He was T-boned by a van, doing the right thing, just going through a four-way, T-boned by a van in the States. My uncle exceeding the speed limit, now he was wrong, and then my other uncle, who was here in England, and he perished because these roads and not driving very safely. So, essentially, I'm not a very good person to talk to when it comes to statistics, because I think almost all of you guys are at fault, not at fault, but at danger, and it's not always your fault. So please, be mindful. My last base, we had a guy get T-boned, coming right out the front gate. Get T-boned, he was hidden in the A-pillar. The other guy driving the vehicle probably should have been driving the vehicle, he only had one eye. His one eye was focused on the A-pillar as the vehicle was turning into a golf course. He just T-boned that biker perfectly. The biker was probably going less than 20 miles an hour, and that was a very bad day for us at the safety office where you live. Not in the military anymore, because he can't do his job, but yeah. Alright, this is where it's at. You guys, do the right thing. I'm not going to reiterate this too much. Don't show off. I know there's a lot of people, my other uncle actually, he used to live in Colorado, and he would show me some videos back in the 90s where he was doing these wheelies up and down Colorado. I don't want any of you guys doing any of that wheelie action around here. I mean, that's crazy. Seriously. Alright, so, anybody have any questions? Again, I challenge you just to take something from this, apply it to your life, apply it to your riding. We have a new riding season, and I want everybody to ride safely, and that's really where it's at.